Okay, so here I have taken uh, some of the reefs. Okay, not all the reefs. I have taken some of the reefs that we'll study. Okay, so today's topic will be the osteology of reefs. Okay, so reefs, that means that reef has the two ends. One is, you can see here. So this is the posterior view of the reefs. Okay. Now, if we'll turn it, okay, we'll see this one will be your anterior end of the reefs. These are the posterior end of the reefs. They will articulate with the thoracic vertebra, and here these are the anterior reefs, anterior end of the reefs. They will articulate with the sternum, right? So here this is the lateral view of the reefs. Okay, and here you will find these are the anterior view of the reefs, right? That means what we got here two ends. No, you can see this one. Here I have just make in pink color. No, so these are the anterior end of the reefs. Okay, and here you will see this is the head of the reefs. No, this pink color. No, that is the head of the reefs that is posteriorly present. Okay, and here you'll find this these reefs. They are not directly articulating with the sternum. Okay, rather they are articulating with the sternum by the cartilage. Okay, so you will find there are 12 pairs of reefs are there. No, so among them, or you can say the reefs are a set of 12 bones. No, and which mainly protects the thoracic cage. No, and they articulate with the vertebral column posteriorly, and they terminate anteriorly here, right, as a cartilage. No, and they are known as the costal cartilage, and that costal cartilage they will articulate with the sternum. So as a part of the bony thorax, the reefs actually protect the internal thoracic organs. They also have a role in breathing. Okay, during the chest expansion, the rib cage they will move and they will permit the lung. Okay, or you can say the lungs. No, for the inflation. Okay, so here in this tutorial we will study about the osteology. Okay, and the bony landmarks of the reefs, and we'll also consider some clinical correlations of the rib injury. Clear? Now we'll see the structures. Okay, rib structures. Okay, so if you'll see the reefs, actually they are classified into two parts. Okay, reefs are classified into two parts. One is your true reefs, another is your false reefs, right? So here I have taken the first reef, second reef, third reef, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh. Okay, seven reefs I have taken. So these seven reefs they are directly articulating with the sternum through the costal cartilage. That's why they are known as the true reefs. Okay, what is true reefs? True reefs are those reefs which articulate directly with the sternum. That is known as a true reefs. Okay, then after the seven, another five set of reefs are there. No, what is that? 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay, they are known as your false reefs because they are not directly articulating with the sternum. Clear? As you know that the 8th, 9th and 10th rib, they are articulating with the 7th rib. Okay. And that 7th rib will articulate with the sternum. Okay. That's why 8th, 9th, 10th, they are the false ribs. Okay. Along with that, you'll find the 11th rib and 12th rib. They don't have any anterior articulation. Okay. They are free from the articulation anteriorly. Only they have the posterior articulation with the thoracic vertebrae 11th and the 12th. Okay, that's why these 11th and 12th ribs, they are known as your floating ribs. Okay, so up to now what we got? We got the true ribs. What is true ribs? Those who are articulating with the sternum. Okay, directly. What is that? 1 to 7th. Clear? Then the rest 5 set of ribs, they are the false ribs. Why? Because they are not articulating directly with the sternum. Okay. So some of the ribs like 8th, 9th, 10th, they are indirectly articulating with the sternum through the 7th rib. Okay. But some other ribs like 11th and 12th, they don't have an articulation anteriorly. That's why they are known as the floating ribs. Okay, they have only articulation at the posterior end of the rib. Then again we will divide these ribs into two groups. Okay, what is that? That group is your typical group and the atypical group. Okay, so we'll say typical ribs and the atypical ribs. Now the question will arise: what is this typical rib and what is the atypical rib? Right. So typical ribs means the ribs those who have the similar features. Okay, they have the similar features. That is the typical. And those ribs, those who have the different features, like your typical thoracic vertebra. Okay, and the atypical thoracic vertebra. Here also you will find. Here you can see the first rib. No, you can see this one is the first rib. So this first rib, it is flattened. No, it is not like the second rib. No, here it has some different features than the second rib. And the second rib also, they have some different features than the third rib. Right. That's why the first rib is the atypical rib. Second rib is the atypical rib. Okay. And you'll find the 10th rib like this. You'll find the 10th rib. 10th, 11th and 12th. They are the atypical ribs. Right. So again I am telling you the ribs, that is first rib, this one. Okay. The second rib, this one. Okay. And others like the 10th rib, 11th rib and the 12th rib. Okay, they are described as atypical because they have the features that are not common to the all other ribs. Okay, so if you'll see the first rib here, this is atypical. Okay, it is a short bone, no? Or you can say it is a short rib and it is wider than the other ribs. Okay, and it only has one facet over here. Okay, if you will see the head of the ribs, so just I will show you. This is the head. Okay, the head of the ribs here you can see. So at this head you'll find it has only a single facet. Why it has the single facet? Because we know that in first thoracic vertebra there was only a single superior facet. That's why here this rib also has the single facet. Right. So due to the single facet, this is the different from the other ribs. Okay. And it is articulating with the correstanding thoracic vertebra. What is that? That is the first thoracic vertebra. Okay, and it is articulating with the superior surface, superior articular facet of the thoracic vertebra. So he see here you will find there is a groove. Okay, you will find the groove. No, like this. In the direction of my arrow, you'll find a depressed groove over here. Okay, so this groove is present at the superior surface. This is superior surface of the first rib, and this is the inferior. No, this is the inferior surface of the first rib. No, so it is just present like this. Okay, this is left rib. So here you can see this is the head of the rib, this is the neck of the rib, okay, and here is the body of the ribs. At the body of the ribs, at the superior side, here you will find there is a groove, okay. So this groove, that is actually you'll find two grooves over here, but that will be not so clearly visible. Okay, in this way you can see here. No, at this point in real bone you will find nicely. So this subclavian artery and the subclavian vein, they just rest over this groove. Okay, so you can say in the first rib there is a groove for the subclavian vessels. Okay, and this feature it is not present in all other what is that, ribs. Okay, that's why this is unique. Okay, that's why this is atypical. Fine. Okay, like that. Okay, here you'll find another ribs. No, so this is your second rib. Okay, the second rib. So the second rib, here it is thinner than the first rib. Okay, first rib it is wider, but in the second rib it is thinner, and it is longer also than the first rib. Okay, then the first it is longer and thinner than the first rib. Okay, but here what you'll find, at the head of this rib you'll find two articular facet. Here is one and here is one, right? Because it articulate with the upper part. No, here you can see right now. This is the upper facet and this is the lower facet, right? So this lower facet is for the second rib. What is that? Second thoracic vertebra. Okay, and this upper small facet, that is for the first thoracic vertebra. Okay, so it has the two demifacet. Okay, you'll find two articular facet on the head as normal other ribs, and here you'll find the second rib, it is roughened here. No, it is rough in surface. Okay, why it is rough? Because it gives this upper surface, it gives attachment or origin to the serratus anterior muscle. Okay, from the upper surface of the second rib you will find the origin of your serratus anterior muscle. Okay, so the first rib is different, second rib is different. Okay, that's why they are the atypical in nature. Okay, like that, if you'll see the 10th rib. Okay, so in the 10th rib, that there you'll find only a single facet. No, at the head there will find the single facet, because as I told you that at the 10th thoracic vertebra, no, we got only a single facet in junction between the body and the pedicle, right? So in the 10th thoracic vertebra is the atypical vertebra. Fine, because already you know that 2 to 9 thoracic vertebra is the typical. Okay, 10th, 11th, 12th they are the atypical, first is the atypical. Like that here in the ribs, in case of ribs, 3 to 9. Okay, means third rib to ninth rib, will have the typical. Okay, but the first, second, 10th, 11th, 12th, they are the atypical. Okay, so the 10th rib, that is similar to the 9th rib only, but only difference is that in the head you will find a single facet in 10th rib, but in 9th rib as usual you will find the two demifacets. Okay, in 11th rib and 12th rib, what you'll find there is, see, in 11th rib and 12th rib, what you'll find there, you'll find the absence of the neck. Okay, neck will not be present in the 11th and 12th. Okay, and they also contain one single facet. Okay, which is for the articulation of the corresponding vertebra. Okay, that's why the 1, 2, 10th, 11th and 12th, they are the only atypical, and all others are the typical ribs. That means from the 3rd to 9th, okay, they are the typical. Okay, so all of these 12 ribs, they articulate posteriorly with the vertebrae, okay, of the thoracic spine. Okay, and each rib, they forms two joints. No, what is that? Here the head, the head will articulate with the vertebra. Okay, and here the tubercle, that will articulate with the transverse process of the vertebra. Okay, so the head, that makes the costovertebral joint. Okay, here no, costovertebral joint means between the head of the rib and the superior. Here all of these 12 ribs, they articulate posteriorly with the vertebrae, okay, of the thoracic spine, and each rib, they form two joints. No, here the head of the ribs with the vertebral body, that makes the costovertebral joint, and the tubercle over here. No, so the tubercle of the ribs that you can see over here, that articulates with the transverse process. Okay, and that makes another joint. That joint is your costotransverse joint. Okay, so it makes two joints. One is the costotransverse joint with the transverse process of the thoracic spine, corresponding thoracic spine. Okay, and the head that articulate with the vertebral body and the intervertebral disc. Okay, and that forms another joint, that is your costovertebral joint. Right. Then this is the posterior end. Right. So if you'll see the anterior end, just come to the anterior side. Okay, so this anterior attachment of these ribs, they vary. Okay, from the first rib to the 7th rib, they attach independently to the sternum. Okay, I told you before, the ribs 8th, 9th, 10th, they attach to the costal cartilage of the 7th rib, then they will articulate with the sternum. Okay, and the ribs 11th and 12th, okay, they don't have an anterior attachment, and the end of the what is that, the ribs, okay, end of the 11th and 12th rib, means anterior end of the ribs, they are actually free from the attachment. Okay, sorry, free from the articulation. Okay, but they gives attachment to the abdominal muscles. Okay, that we'll study during our abdomen topic. Okay, so because of this, the 11th and 12th ribs, they are called as the floating ribs. Fine. Now if you see the surface of the body, okay, so here you can see this is your outer surface of the ribs. Okay, the pink color. Okay, outer surface of the ribs, right? And here you will find this one is your inner surface of the ribs. Okay, so at the inner surface of the ribs, here you will find a groove. All of it. So this groove is known as your costal groove. Okay, this is known as your costal groove. Okay, so what happens here, the intercostal neurovascular bundle that lodges inside this costal groove. So inside the groove, what will find? The neurovascular bundle. Okay, what is that? Intercostal vein at the upper part. Okay, here you'll find the intercostal vein. Below to that, you'll find the intercostal artery, and below to that, you'll find the intercostal nerve. As I told you, the mnemonics vein, V-A-N, right? So V for vein, A for artery, N for nerve. Okay, these three structures they resides. Okay, they lodges inside this costal groove. You'll find in between the ribs, you'll find these muscles, right? Here you can see these muscles, right? So these muscles, right, they are running downward. Okay, here you can see actually they takes origin from the lower ribs and they ascends upward and forward. Okay, here you can see upward and forward, right? So these muscles are known as your internal intercostal muscles, right? So the internal intercostal muscles that takes origin from the inferior border of the first rib. Okay, or you can say inferior border of the lower ribs, then they ascends upward and forward. Okay, and they attaching to the superior border of the other ribs, above ribs. Okay, so these muscles are known as your internal intercostal muscles. Okay, so just superficial to that, okay, you will find another muscle group. This is your external intercostal muscles. So this external intercostal muscles that takes origin from the upper ribs, then they descends downward and forward. Okay, then they attaches to the superior border of the lower ribs, right? So these are the external intercostal muscles. Okay, so these external intercostal muscle and the internal intercostal muscles, these two muscles are mainly that makes the thoracic wall. Okay, but very deep to that, there are also other muscle is present. That muscle is your intercostal intimi muscle, right? So that muscle it is not present over here. That this one, no, this is your, what is that, 11th ribs, and this is your 12th ribs, right? This is the 11th rib and this is your 12th rib. Okay, and this 11th and 12th anteriorly they don't have any articulation. They are only articulating posteriorly with their corresponding thoracic vertebra here and here. So it is your 12th thoracic vertebra and this is your 11th thoracic vertebra, right? This is your 11th and this is your 12th. So posterior only they have the articulation. Anteriorly they are free. Okay. Now question arises, sir, what about this all these parts? No, they are also looking like free. No, but they have the cartilage. No, anteriorly. See, I will show you. Okay. Now you can see clearly about the all the ribs anteriorly. You can see these are the actually the bone, but after that you will get these are the cartilage. Okay, these are the cartilage. So these cartilage, here you can see the first rib articulating directly here with the sternum, no, with the complete facet. Here the second rib at the sternal angle, no, demifacet at the upper, demifacet at the lower, and the third rib that is articulating over here. This is the fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh. Okay, seventh one mostly at the body, but some part at the xiphoid process. But the eighth one, this one the eighth, no, eighth one, and this was the ninth. Okay, and this one is your 10th. Okay, so here you can see the 8th, 9th, and 10th they articulating with the 7th one. No, then the seventh one will articulate with the sternum. Okay, so they are the indirect ribs. That's why they are known as the false ribs. Okay, so tenth, sorry, this one is the eighth, ninth, okay, tenth, okay, and here we'll find the 11th ribs and the 12th rib. They don't have any anterior articulation. Okay, that's why they are known as the floating ribs. Okay, because they don't have any anterior articulation. Only they have the posterior articulation with the, what is that, your corresponding vertebra and with the transverse process. Clear? So this is all about the ribs.
So one more doubt.
Yes.
So the 11th and the 12th rib, they do not articulate with the upper vertebrae.
No. They have only the single facet. So here you may face the thoracic muscle spasm.
Thoracic muscle spasms are involuntary contractions of the muscles of the thoracic region of the back. There are many causes, including dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, circulatory disturbances, and neurologic abnormalities. In the neck, sudden movements, especially during sport, can cause damage to the muscle fibers. This results in pain and a decreased range of motion.
Okay, what he told. So here you can see if any sudden movement will be there, okay, or any sudden action will be there, then these muscles are there, no? Okay, these muscles are the multifidus muscle. Okay, so these multifidus muscles, they will be fatigue. Okay, they will become spasm. Okay, so that will cause the thoracic muscle spasm, and that will cause pain, okay, to the patient very severely, and the movement will be restricted if it is severely spasm. Okay, here you can see the osteoporosis of the spine. Osteoporosis means the loss of calcium and the minerals from the bone.
Osteoporosis in thoracic vertebrae is characterized by low bone density and increased bone fragility. Osteoporosis is often unrecognized until a fracture occurs. People suffering from osteoporosis often break bones in the upper thoracic spine. This results in pain, height loss, and a stooped or hunched posture.
Clear? Loss of minerals and the calcium, that will cause the osteoporosis, and that happens at the upper thoracic region. And some cases also compression fracture occurs. How? When there will be the osteoporotic bone, right? Then there is a chance of compression fracture.
When osteoporosis occurs, it results in loss of bone density and bone fragility. The fragility of the bones in the thoracic vertebrae can result in minor microfractures to occur from normal daily activity. Over time, these small fractures can weaken the structure of the vertebrae, causing the vertebrae to collapse, resulting in a compression fracture. This condition causes pain, loss of height, compressed vertebral bodies, and may lead to kyphosis.
Okay, what you got here? See, when this is a normal vertebra, right? And here we'll find the osteoporotic vertebra. So in osteoporotic vertebra, what will happen? Due to the loss of minerals and the calcium, micro degeneration, okay, micro loss of the bone will be there, and on the time will come, all these bones internally, they will be brittle, no, they will be fractured, and ultimately the bone will lose its weight bearing capacity, okay, and at that time it will be compressed over here, okay, and due to the compressor, you'll find the what is that, micro fracture inside this bone will be there, and that will cause the what is that? Kyphosis, because it is compressing anteriorly. So the person is stooping forward. No, so that makes the kyphotic compression. In case of the ribs, right, you'll find the rib fracture. You'll find, okay, rib fractures most commonly occur in the middle ribs. What is that? From third to seventh. Okay, these ribs, they have the main susceptible towards the fracture. Okay, that may be due to the direct blow. Okay, or you can say the during the what is that, boxing or punching to the lateral part of the ribs. Okay, at that time the middle part of the ribs, they are more prone towards the fracture. Okay, so that may be fractured, or that may be crushed, right, or that may be single fracture, or that may be multiple fracture, right, of a ribs may occur where at the middle part of the ribs. Okay, so a main the common complication of the rib fracture, that is, it damages the soft tissue. No, how? Because once the rib will be fractured, that will shift towards inner side. That may puncture the pleura. That may puncture the lungs. No, so there is the risk of damage. Okay, for the lungs, risk of damage for the spleen, or the diaphragmatic puncture also may occur. Right, that is very serious case. Okay, so if two or more fracture occur in two or more adjacent ribs, okay, then the affected area, that will be no longer under control of your muscle. If single bone will be fractured, then your internal intercostal, external intercostal muscle, they may hold that ribs in a particular position. But if it is multiple ribs fracture, then the intercostal muscles has no role. Okay, the ribs will be go inside to the thoracic cage, and that may rupture to the lungs. Okay, rupture to the pleura, rupture to the spleen. Okay, and that may also rupture to the thoracic diaphragm. Okay, so that will cause a serious fatal effect. Right. So this condition, the multiple rib fracture, if that will move inward, okay, and if that will infiltrate the lungs, okay, and if that will puncture the diaphragm, okay, then that condition is known as your flail chest. Okay, FLIAL, sorry, FLAIL, flail chest, right? So what is flail chest? When the multiple ribs, they will be fractured, at that time there is no control of the intercostal muscles, and these fractured ribs, that may impinge, or that may puncture to the lungs, okay, or to the diaphragm. So the long inflation will be there. Okay, now long inflation and deflation will be there. So this type of condition will be known as your flail chest. FLAIL, flail chest. Okay, so it will impair the full expansion of the rib cage. Okay, so that it will affect to the oxygen content of the blood. No, so this flail chest, that will be treated by fixing the affected ribs, or you can say the fractured ribs. Okay, so that they can prevent the what will say, the abnormal movement, or you can say the paradoxical movement. Okay, where that rib